Hi there, meteorological summer is fast approaching an end, so we'll take a closer look at the prospects for September in just a couple of minutes or so. First, our usual look elsewhere around the world, and in the US, showery weather across the central plains and the eastern states have been benefiting the immature summer crops here over the recent few days, or indeed a week or so. Now further south across South America, in Argentina in particular, it's been fairly cool and dry. This is good news, I guess, for the late season field work, but not so great news perhaps for the winter grain growth, with things slowing down here because of the recent cool weather. Also in Brazil, we've had fairly dry conditions too, which has been good for the corn and cotton harvesting in the major production areas, and also northwest Mexico seeing some beneficial rain from the usual monsoon showers at this time of the year. And elsewhere in the world, Southeast Asia, well, it's been quite wet at times in Thailand from the recent rain and showers here, improving the moisture conditions for rice, but still looking quite dry, I think, with a deficit of rainfall further northeast across parts of Asia. Now back at home over the last week or so, you remember last week we were talking about how there would be a clear northwest-southeast split in the weather over the past week, with a lot of rain expected in the northwest and relatively dry conditions expected in the southeast. Now this graphic here shows where we've had all the rain over the last 7 days or so. It's from radar estimates, and you can see parts of northwest Ireland up into western Scotland here. We've seen 70 to 100 millimetres of rain already, and it's still raining right now at the time of recording on Friday afternoon across parts of western Scotland in particular. In stark contrast, the far southeast, hardly a drop of rain here at all, just a couple of millimetres or so. So that's just showing how the forecast has gone over the last few weeks. Pretty good looking at things so far. Apart from these individual showers and thunderstorms, these little narrow lines here that you see across parts of Bedfordshire into Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, parts of Yorkshire too. That was on Tuesday evening where we saw some rather intense thunderstorms. You'll remember we talked about the upper low last week and how that may drive a few thunderstorms early on in the week, and that's what we saw Tuesday evening. I saw some pictures of hail 3 to 3.5 centimetres in diameter from some of those as well, which is enough to cause some damage to crops, for example, earlier on this week. And the changeable weather really continues for the next week or so because we have a fairly active jet stream. Big troughs, these big dips in the jet stream, such as one this weekend, will drive areas of low pressure, so some wet weather, some rain or showers at times. You'll get some ridges as the jet lifts north, which will allow high pressure temporarily to build in, but then the next trough comes in to give us some more unsettled weather. And you can see this whole chain of ridges and troughs spans all the way back to Canada really, and will continue to move in our direction for the next week or even 2 weeks. For example. So to look at things in a little bit more detail for this weekend, low pressure to the north of the UK. We've got this trailing weather front on Saturday. This is the 31st of August, of course. So this will mark the boundary between the very warm air that's over the continent and also just about clipping the southeast corner, with much cooler air coming in from the northwest on those northwesterly winds. And you can see as I run this through the next few days, this warm air across Europe is getting shunted off to the east as this cooler weather starts to feed in from the Atlantic behind that cold front over the next few days or so. So things are cooling down this weekend. Now that cold front will be fairly active on Saturday morning. It's brought a lot of rain already to western Scotland, and it continues to bring quite a bit of rain Saturday morning across western Britain, but watch as it tracks its way east through the day. It will weaken substantially. Ahead of it, still fairly warm, so we could see temperatures up into the mid-20s across eastern England on Saturday for a time, and then cooler weather with showers following in from the west. But notice, hardly any rain at all reaching the far southeast by the end of the day as that front continues to die a death. So the dry thing here continues for at least another day or so. By Sunday, low pressure is lifted a little bit further north, but we're all in this run of northwesterly winds now, which is obviously a cool direction, and it'll tend to bring showers, which at times may merge to give some longer spells of rain. Now, most of the showers on Sunday will tend to be in the west. You can see these organised troughs bringing in some more organised wet weather coming in from the northwest. But with the heating of the day, we could also see showers developing elsewhere across central and eastern parts of the UK. So nowhere particularly immune from showers on Sunday, certainly by the afternoon where they could be heavy, with perhaps even a rumble of thunder. Now, for the beginning of the week, from Monday, we do see that low pressure moving away, and high pressure, remember that jet stream bridging to the north, that's going to allow high pressure to build in. Now it's not everywhere, there's still these weather fronts affecting Scotland, so still some wet weather here, but for much of England, Wales, Northern Ireland, Monday probably will be a dry day after a very chilly start with that high pressure building into cold air. Now high pressure continues to hang on in the south for Tuesday, but it does start to retreat a bit as these weather fronts start to make more progress in, and that's really the story for the end of the week, with these weather fronts trying to push southeast, bringing another shot of chilly air, with high pressure continuing to stay off to the southwest. So the front's continuing to weaken as they come further southeast with time. So beyond midweek, there's a bit of uncertainty about exactly how things will play out. But these two tables here kind of show the story quite well. So again, like last week, I've picked Oban for Western Scotland, Maidstone in Kent for southeast England, just to represent the contrasting conditions here for rainfall at least. Now what we've got here are 50 different computer models that have been run, and it shows the probability of how much rain we may see for each day over the next 10 days or so. So if you're looking for dry weather and you want a guaranteed dry day, you are essentially looking in this bottom row here. And whenever you see large numbers, that means your odds are that it's probably going to be a dry day. So for example here, Kent today on Friday, 100% chance of below 0.5 millimetres of rain. In other words, probably going to be dry, and that's likely to be the case today as well. Now running this forward in time, not a lot of rain to be said really for the southeast, only a small amount showing up here. The next bar up is 0.5 to 2 millimetres, so not a lot of rain showing until you get towards midweek onwards. With that weather front coming in late Tuesday into Wednesday, there could be some rainfall here. And really for the end of the week, notice it does turn overall more unsettled. There's quite a spread, so there's a bit of uncertainty about exactly how much rain and when that may arrive, so timing could be an issue. But the overall trend for the end of the week into the weekend is for a greater chance for some rain to develop across the southeast corner of the UK. Now in contrast, Scotland looks fairly wet. Almost every day there is rain showing up here, and very few days actually showing any substantial numbers in this bottom row here. So pretty much every day for Oban, for example, there's some form of wet weather, and at first quite a bit of rain, 20, 30, 40 millimetres per day in this part of the world. Now towards the end of the week, notice there's again quite a bit of spread, but there is a sort of downward trend in the amounts of rain, and actually towards Saturday there's a 28% chance you could stay mostly dry, for example. So signs are it'll turn more unsettled widely across the UK midweek onwards, and then towards the weekend high pressure starts building in, so things drying out in the northwest of the UK at first, and then eventually this will likely extend to the southeast by the end of the weekend and into the beginning of the following week, so the first proper week of September, if you like. Now, because there's some timing differences, things will chop and change over the next week or so. So to stay in touch with the latest forecast, give our forecasters a call. We're available every day, 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and we can keep an eye on all that data for you and help you make those important decisions, giving you the advice you need forecast-wise over the next few weeks or so. So this takes us up until midweek. Beyond that, so this is moving from the 5th of September through to the 11th of September, this is the mean pressure anomaly. By that we mean how much the surface pressure is varying from where it should normally be at this time of the year. What we're seeing here is higher than normal pressure, indicated by the red here, to the southwest of the UK, and lower than normal pressure over Scandinavia. So a net northwesterly flow likely to prevail through the second half of next week into the weekend and perhaps the early part of the following week as well. What that tends to mean is fairly cool conditions, because it's not a particularly warm direction when your air is coming from the northwest. So generally speaking, near or below average temperatures, some fairly chilly nights, and we could even see a touch of frost in parts of Scotland in particular on a few nights, particularly Sunday into Monday morning, and again later on in the week with the high building in as well. Notice the hot weather by this stage shunted off to Eastern Europe after starting the week over central and western parts of Europe. Rainfall-wise also fairly dry conditions overall because of the high pressure close by, but there will be some rain at times across the UK, particularly in the northwest, and as I say, those fronts will tend to weaken as they come further southeast, but we could see some fairly windy weather for a time as well. Now beyond that, into week 3, that high pressure or higher pressure is still out west. What this tends to mean is not necessarily high pressure, but low pressure is less prevalent than it would normally be at this time of the year, which tends to indicate more blocking patterns. So remember I showed you that jet stream earlier with the troughs and ridges. It's likely that instead of the quick succession of troughs and ridges that we've got right now, the pattern may slow somewhat by the time we get through towards the middle part of September. So overall, temperatures near or slightly below normal, with that northwesterly flow generally continuing across Western Europe, above average temperatures across Eastern Europe during this particular period. And again, rainfall near or below average in the west, above average for Central Europe with some showers and thunderstorms here, and then drier conditions again towards Eastern Europe and Western Russia. And then towards week 4, mid-September, we're starting to see that higher than normal pressure becoming more dominant across much of northern and northwest Europe. So it does look like high pressure may become more prevalent by mid-September across the UK and elsewhere across Europe, settling things down and perhaps turning warmer as well. There are hints of slightly above average temperatures by this stage as well, by mid-September, and also quite a strong signal for below average rainfall as well. So just to summarise all of that over the next few weeks, rather changeable at first with some rain and showers, particularly in the northwest. That's where they're going to be most frequent, but occasionally getting towards that southeast corner later on in the week. Cool at times as well, particularly at night with a risk of frost in sheltered glens, not everywhere. Most places will still be frost-free during this spell. And then towards mid-September, probably becoming more settled and warmer, and as a result, somewhat drier conditions as well. So that's how things are looking for the next 4 weeks or so. We'd love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback or questions, please do get in touch. You can email us or use the hashtag WQFarmingForecast on Twitter. And of course, as usual, if you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.